She arrived at the mansion before sunrise, her uniform pressed, her smile steady, because that's what was expected. The billionaire's marble floors glistened beneath her careful steps, yet she was invisible among the gold and glass. Until, one morning, a cruel joke turned deadly serious. Her job, her dignity, her family's future, all hanging on a humiliating challenge she never asked for. What neither the billionaire nor his guests saw coming was who would rise to defend her, and how that moment would shatter every rule they lived by.
Maria took the first bus every morning, the kind that rattled through the still dark streets before the city woke up. She'd worked for the Langfords, a family whose wealth glimmered from every chandelier, for nearly 8 years. Her job was simple on paper: keep things spotless, stay polite, stay invisible. But every polish of silver and sweep of dust reminded her of a ceiling she could never cross. To the Langfords, she was loyal help, nothing more. Her son, Andre, saw it differently. He saw the quiet strength behind her tired eyes, the pride she never lost. Neither of them imagined that one morning, in that shining house on the hill, a cruel test would expose what the family truly thought of them and what Maria's boy was truly capable of.
The morning the safe arrived, Maria didn't think much of it. The Langfords were always flaunting something new: a rare car, a diamond sculpture, a vacation home halfway across the world. But this? A $300 million titanium vault gleaming in the middle of their luxurious study? It felt excessive, even for them. Mrs. Langford had laughed about it at breakfast, brushing off Maria's wide eyes as if she'd gawked at a circus trick. By noon, half the mansion buzzed with guests: wealthy men with loud voices, women draped in silk, and servers who knew not to meet their eyes. Maria moved silently through them, refilling glasses, overhearing fragments of conversation about investments and legacy. Each word seemed to widen the invisible gap between her and the world she served. She kept her head down, her son Andre's worn shoes barely visible behind the kitchen door. He'd come to help her carry trays. It was supposed to be just another long day. Then came the laughter, the sharp, echoing kind that makes a room colder. Mr. Langford, polished and smug, turned from the safe with a glass of whiskey in hand. "Let's have some fun," he said, waving the room quiet. His tone carried that dangerous charm powerful men often mistook for wit. He called Maria forward. She froze, tray trembling in her hands as dozens of eyes landed on her. He pointed to the vault. "You've dusted everything in this house, haven't you, Maria?" His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Think you can dust off a code while you're at it? Open this $300 million safe and—" He paused for effect. "Maybe you keep your job." The guests laughed, some nervously, others delightedly. Maria stood motionless, her pulse thudding in her ears. She wasn't sure if he was serious. The way he leaned closer made it clear. It wasn't a joke meant for humor. It was meant for humiliation. Andre stepped forward before she could stop him, voice steady but low. "That's enough, sir." The room fell silent, the kind that holds its breath before the storm. Mr. Langford laughed again, a slow, incredulous sound. "Who's this?" "My son," Maria whispered. "A brave one," Langford sneered. "Tell you what, hero, if you can open it, maybe your mother's job stays safe. Fail, and she's done here." He tossed the words like crumbs to the crowd and turned away, expecting no answer. But Andre didn't move back, his gaze fixed on the keypad glowing faintly on the vault door. Maria grabbed his arm. She shook his head gently, telling her not to trust him. The room leaned in, luxury stilled by disbelief. As Andre stepped toward the vault, one question hung thick in the air, unspoken yet shared by everyone watching. Was this foolish courage or something far greater than pride?
Every heartbeat in that glittering room thundered louder than the ticking clock on the wall. Andre stood before the vault, palms barely trembling, eyes fixed on the illuminated keypad. Whispered laughter slithered through the air, rich amusement dressed as disbelief. To them, he was just a janitor's kid playing a man's game. To his mother, he was everything she had fought for. He studied the numbers, the faint smudges from careless fingers. The pattern spoke to him, a simple string of arrogance. 4 digits, clean and predictable, the kind of code a man like Langford would choose, his own birth year. Andre pressed the numbers one by one. A hush fell. A metallic click echoed like thunder. The safe door loosened with robotic precision. The laughter died before anyone could inhale. For a split second, silence reigned. Faces froze, shocked, pale, and uncertain how to process what they had just seen. Then came the panic. Langford spun toward the crowd, color draining from his face. He stammered something about luck, about tricks, as if reality itself couldn't accept being corrected by a boy he thought beneath him. Maria's breath hitched. Pride and fear warred inside her chest. For once, eyes that had always looked through her were forced to see her, through her son's defiance. Langford's voice broke through the stunned quiet, colder now. "Get out, both of you." Andre didn't move. He just turned, the vault still open behind him, a symbol heavier than gold. In his mother's world, this moment could cost them everything. But in his, it meant something greater. Proof. Proof that worth wasn't determined by wealth, color, or class. As they walked toward the door, the crowd parted, not out of grace, but shame. And high above the marble floor, Langford's echoing anger bled into silence, swallowed by the sound of footsteps that carried generations of quiet endurance straight into history. The sun was setting by the time Maria and Andre reached the bus stop, the mansion shrinking behind them like a bad dream made of glass and gold. Maria's hands still trembled, but not from fear anymore. Something inside her had shifted. For years she'd bitten her tongue, smiled through insults, and taught her son that keeping your head down was safer. But that day, as she watched him stand tall against their cruelty, she realized survival had never meant silence. It had meant strength. Word spread quickly. The guests told their versions, each trying to blur what really happened. But the image remained. A boy who turned humiliation into a quiet revolution with nothing but his courage and his mother's love. The Langfords made sure the story disappeared from polite conversation, yet outside those marble gates it took on a life of its own, shared in whispers, retold in communities that knew all too well what it meant to be mocked, doubted, unseen. Maria found new work months later, not in a mansion, but at a community center. Andre started tutoring other kids who felt small in a world that tried to keep them that way. Together, they learned that dignity isn't granted by the powerful, it's claimed, even if trembling. That vault, that cruel test, it was never really about money, it was about worth. And in proving himself, Andre forced everyone watching to confront what true wealth looks like. Centuries change, faces and names shift, but the question remains the same. How many more sons and mothers must remind the world that their value can't be measured in gold, titles, or power? Maybe the real code to unlock isn't hidden behind metal doors. It's the one that opens human hearts.